So the first example I have is, and now theory is over. It's been a long time for getting the theory to over, but we move to the cases. So we have Cinderella Man, very famous person as far as boxing circles is concerned. A movie was made around, I think, early 2000s on this. His name is James J Braddock. He was a very famous boxer. So he had a very good career start. I think he started at around the age 20, and very soon he defeated a lot of people, and he challenged the then world champion. But he was defeated in that. It was a very hard fought match, but he was defeated. And soon after that, his downturn came. This was a time of the Great Depression in USA. Okay, and a lot of people lost their savings. Even the stock market crashed, and a lot of people had invested in the stock market and they lost their money and all that. So even he lost his money. But more than that, he was falling into bad times. He had injured his right arm in this match with Logren, and that became more and more weak, and hence he started losing matches. So I said that he had injured his right arm, and then in progressively in the further matches, he it got injured more and more. So much so that his doctor said that he will have to break all the bones to reset it.
Hmm.
Okay. So then what he did is, and that costed a lot of money, and he was already going down. He was not having enough money. He had got married by that time, and he had children. So it was tough time. So what he did in the next match, he deliberately broke his hand himself. And then he went to the doctor and he said, okay, you set the bones correctly. So what happened is then his right arm was completely bandaged and all that. So he could not fight. And see, he was already going through a very tough time. He had children to take care of, and that was when he had to go for state support. Those days state was giving some money, dole outs to everyone. And he was a very self-respecting person. It was very tough for him, but he took the money. I mean, what else? There was no other option. And then he had to, that still won't help. So he had to go and work in the dockyard as a laborer. So top boxer is gone going to labor as a laborer. And what he would do is he would use his left hand. He can't use his right hand. So he would use his left hand to pick the heavy whatever loads that he had to carry. And surprisingly, what it did was his left hand became stronger because of that. Okay. And his right hand anyway took some time for it to recuperate and all that. Then 6 months down the line, he was okay. His right hand also had become okay. And he got a chance out of the blue. Okay. One boxer who was up and coming, he wanted to fight against a well-known boxer, but whom he think will lose against him. Okay. So they picked Braddock for that. Okay.
Hmm.
And he got some 7 days time to prepare. Okay. And he went into the match. Yeah. And so, as I said, he got just a week's time, and but he took the match, and to everyone's surprise, he knocked out the other guy, the young guy who was many years younger than to him. He knocked out him. I think within a few rounds, he knocked him out. And his left punch, I think his left hand had become very strong. Left punch, he knocked out that guy. Not just that, within the next few months, he fought two other big time boxers, and he knocked them out also. Okay,
Hmm.
like clear knockouts. Okay, and because of that, he came into a position where he could again challenge the world champion. By this time, the world champion had changed. It was a different guy who was the world
Hmm.
champion. His name was Max Baer. And see, his life by this time had become an inspiration for a lot of people. A lot of people had lost money and they were like him. They came to know, Achai, this is a big guy. He also required state support. They identified with him. Okay. And then he was coming up.
Hmm.
Okay. And so his life was becoming an inspiration for a lot of people. That's why he was known as Cinderella Man. He came out of nowhere, and his like fairy tale story, as they say. And then the fight happened with Max Baer. Max Baer was a phenomenal fighter in the sense that he was huge also, in the sense his size. And his, what do you call, hit was so strong. Two people had died in the ring due to his this thing. Not that he was a cruel person or anything. Even he felt sad because of that. But he had that kind of power. So Braddock was fighting against that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And their match lasted for, I think, more than 15 rounds. And it was not a knockout, but Braddock played very, very intelligently, maximizing his strength versus his weakness and all that. And eventually was able to win that bout on points. Okay, and became
Mm-hmm.
the world champion. So that is the sensational comeback of this down and out boxer. Sorry for the very long introduction of this person before even is seeing his chart. But not many people may know his story, and we will actually try and see the part of his story through the horoscope. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's where, and I'll not be doing this long intros of other people because they are much more well known. Okay, so here we have all the three different styles of charts displayed, and we have the Rashi and the Navamsha. The next page has a Dashamsha, where I'll talk a little bit on the Dashamsha as well. Okay. So here on below we have like the general comments of the person, but on the right side I have the specific things linking to what I talked about. Okay, sports career. What are the indicators, right? But
Mm-hmm.
first we'll focus over here. So let's look at his chart. So when we look at a chart, we have to see some. Firstly, I mean, yes, we can look at the 10th house and all that. But if some important yogas are catching the eye, it would help a lot. Straight away we can focus on that. Now here we have Vrishchik or Scorpio Lagna, and we can very clearly see this Venus and Jupiter, one, two great benefics. Okay. And Venus, Jupiter is also very favorable for this chart, and they are having a yoga over here. Okay. And this
Mm-hmm.
is also a Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga being a combination of a Kendra and a Kona
Yeah.
lordships. So here you have Jupiter as fifth lord, a Kona, and Venus as a Kendra. So they are forming this Raja Yoga. This being in the sixth house indicates that this Raja Yoga will come with a lot of fighting and struggle. Okay. Uh, in normal charts, we, like Raja Yoga, we would not want a sixth house or a eighth house association with Raja Yoga. Okay. But here we are talking of a boxer whose life itself is full of fighting and struggle. Okay. So it
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. Now, the question is, how is this linking to our things related to sports? This is a Raj Yoga, definitely. So the lord of this happens to be Mars. This is in the sign of Aries. So directly Mars is linked to it. Not just that, Mars is having a Parivartana yoga with Venus. Mars is aspecting this yoga as well as having a Parivartana yoga with Venus. And another carrier marker is the 10th house or 10th lordship from Moon. Okay. Because Moon essentially indicates what society will support us with and what will put food on the table for us. Okay. Because Moon is about food, Moon is about society and all that, right? So basically, what will sustain a person. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
10th lord from Moon is indicating that. And Mars is the 10th lord, and this yoga is happening in the moon, 10th house from the moon.
Can we say as well that tenth house from the moon is what my manas is keen to do? Like it's the karma of my mind. Like this is what I like to do. Preference.
Uh, that is a very, very different topic altogether. See, Lagna is about our intellect. Okay,
Yeah.
and my moon is Manas, agreed. But ultimately, it is a Lagna which is making decisions. Okay.
Decisions. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So in this context, I would say the yes, Chandra you can say is Manas, but in this context, the houses from the moon is essentially how we are linking with the society in different
Mm-hmm.
ways. That is the
Okay.
main aspect about houses from the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Also note that Jupiter happens to be the Atma Karaka. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we have discussed that Atma Karaka or Amatya Karaka association is important. So here Jupiter happens to be the Atma Karaka. So it is coming from deep down from the soul level. And just to be sure that this Venus Jupiter is the yoga which is important, his important phase where he made his sensational comeback and he won against those several boxers, including against Max Baer, and won the title, all happened in Venus Jupiter. And this happened when he just, had crossed 31 years of, I mean, 30 plus he had turned. And that's when Jupiter actually matures. There are ages when various grahas mature, and that is when Jupiter is maturing. This comment on gets Niche Banga is pertaining to Dashamsha chart that is coming in the next slide. So just don't get confused by it. So Jupiter was Nietzsche over there. It gets Nietzsche Banga around this time, and that's where it is, uh, supporting him.
Mhm.
Now the question emerges: how is, I've said Mars has to connect with Mercury and Rahu or Virgo or 6,000 some form or the other. How are those connections coming over here? We are seeing Mars, but how can we be sure about that aspect also, right? So firstly, you see that the Aruda Lagna is in Virgo. Okay, that's very important. Aruda Lagna is defining your image. Okay. Then secondly, we want some association of Mars with Mercury. Okay. Now, Mars and Mercury have some sort of yoga, you may say, because Mars is aspecting Mercury and Mercury is aspecting Mars's sign. But really speaking, the yoga is in Navamsha, where Mars and Mercury are together. Okay. Not
Mhm.
just anywhere, they are in the sign of Aquarius, which is lorded by Rahu. Okay.
Mhm.
So you have Vale in Aruda Lagna in Virgo, and you have this Mars Mercury yoga in Navamsha in the sign of Virgo, in the sign of Rahu. If you look at Navamsha now, in Navamsha you have Mercury is lording the Lagna as well as the 10th house, okay, from the Lagna. Okay, so it is the
Mhm.
10th lord. 10th lord is very important in terms of what sector or what area will give you wealth and success.
Mhm.
Okay, so Mercury is lording that, and that is with Mars in this.
Mhm.
It is in the 6th house, by the way, of
As
Navamsha. That's
well,
also
yes, in the sixth one.
we also see from the Atma Karaka, okay, from the Atma Karaka, what is the 10th house in Navamsha? What we call Karakamsha, okay. So from Karakamsha, which is in Sagittarius, the 10th house is Virgo. So straight away Virgo is associated, and obviously Lord is Mercury and all that. So this is coming more from the soul level, because we are talking about Atma
Mhm.
Karaka. What is the soul really finding satisfaction in? Which area? One is what is getting you wealth, but what is also your soul wanting to do? Because with the
Mhm.
soul support, you really can't go in a direction that much. Okay. I mean, or at least you may say that it is not the right direction for you to go in. Okay. So
Mhm.
here it is confirming that aspect also. And I said one more dictum, which is the third house from Karakamsha, Karakamsha being this sign of Sagittarius, should be having malefic influence. It is Aquarius sign, okay? And it is having Mars, and Rahu is having Rashi Drishti. It's having Lordship, but is also having Rashi Drishti on this, okay? We look at Rashi Drishtis in this context quite a lot. So clearly a malefic influence. So someone who is very brave. I mean, no one else can go and break his own hand and break his bones, right? So deliberately. So that is, yeah. One other very interesting point, and I was startled when I saw that over here, is that when we have certain grahas linking to certain body parts, okay, there's a scheme wherein rajas grahas are ruling your hands. There are two rajas grahas, your Mercury and Venus, okay, and Mercury is said to rule the right hand and Venus rules the left hand, okay, because you see Venus is linking to the right brain, the left hand is connected to the right brain, and Jupiter rules the left brain and connects to the right hand, Mercury, okay. So you can see in his chart that Mercury is very well placed in the seventh, in the sense it is in the Kendra, but Mercury in seventh house is supposed to be Marana Karakasthana. Okay. So which is something which is going to die, okay, or
Mhm.
go down or suffer. So here, because it is in Kendra, he started off with it, his right hand, which was his strength, right? And interestingly, between the around you may say 25th to 30th years of age, around 25 is when Venus starts coming into prominence. Okay. And 30 is when Mercury is naturally here. So between that age, his right hand suffered, and then he had to strengthen his left hand. And left hand is Venus, which is giving him his great Raj Yoga. So it's quite incredible that this also is fitting in the story. That's why I talked about all that injury to his right hand and left hand and all that. This is his Dashamsha. It is having Virgo Lagna. Okay. So straight away it's linking to Virgo. And you have Mars and Mercury together over here in the seventh house. Okay. Uh, both are in Kendra, but both are in Varna Karakasthana. Okay. So you have a Mars, but you have strong Mars Mercury association over here, right? Here you have again Mercury is the lord of the 10th house as well. So that also defines the, let me say, the place or this area of your work in a way, or the organization you will work for, right? So that Mercury is defining that. So Mercury is with Mars, and Mars is the lord of the third house. The third house in Dashamsha would also, I mean, third house can have many connotations, but you can also say again it's about one's valor and parakrama, we call that valor, right? So
Mhm.
your ability to uh, go out and do courageous acts. So that is also being defined over here. And if you note here, Rahu is over here in the third house. In the sign of Scorpio, Rahu is very badly placed. It is considered a kind of a debility to Rahu. And that is when his career also suffered, Venus Rahu. Venus Rahu is when his career went down. And then Venus Jupiter is when his career came up. And by the way, one just point, Jupiter is getting Neecha Bhanga by Moon in Lagna over here. Okay. When Mars also in Kendra is giving Neecha Bhanga to Jupiter. So Venus Jupiter is when his comeback happens. And because these planets are in Marna Karakasthana, okay, we look at what planets can overcome that, how it can be overcome. So that is overcome one by the Lord of this sign, Jupiter. And as that Jupiter becomes strong when he's around 30 years of age, because it's the Lord of this sign, it can overcome
Mhm.
it. And we see this is in the seventh house for which the Karaka is Venus, right?
Mhm.
And Venus is with the Sun, so either it has to be well placed from Lagna or from Sun. Okay, so Sun is also so Venus is with Sun, and Venus is indicating that the left hand is helping overcome the problem with the right hand. Mercury
Mm.
is the problem, and Venus is helping overcome that. Okay, and clearly in the Venus Jupiter period is when his comeback happens. So we have seen in this example all the aspects which relate to the sports career, sports aspect. We have seen the association of Mars with Mercury. We have seen not in D9 as well as in D10 to some extent, even we can say in D1 as well. There's an association with sixth house very clearly of Mars. Mars was the lord of sixth house in the Rashi chart, right? And that is linking to one of the most important Raja Yogas of the chart as well, right? And all these things coming together in multiple ways across D1, D9, as well as D10 are showing that sports career.
And so we're ready to go on with the questions.
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, let me see. The question from Anna. Shukra in D1 is in sixth house, Marna Karakasthana.
Yeah.
How do we interpret this? Does it go away with the Parivartana?
Can we go back to that?
Slide, yeah. Yeah.
I won't say it will go away with the Parivartana, mm, but mm, that problem is there. I won't say it will go away with the Parivartana.
But how do we interpret then this thing that it became strong? How did it MKS vanished?
No, MKS of that Shukra can have other implication, not necessarily about the left hand or the right hand. I would say like that.
Мгм. Ну, вот это
By the rules, the MKS of Shukra is not really going away. Um I would say still in the sixth house, so it's not going away. It's just the
Мгм.
fact that because you have the difference between Mercury and Shukra over here is with the Parivartana, Shukra becomes stronger. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like it being in the own sign. And then it's with Jupiter. So that helps to overcome the problem while the problem is there. I won't say the problem is going away. Okay, but you're able to deal with the problem.
Мгм. Let me translate it.
So,
Okay.
so, it's like, on one hand, you have a problem which you can't deal with, but on
Мгм.
the other hand, you have a problem. The problem is there, but you're able to deal with it. You know how to overcome that problem. That
Мгм.
is there. That's how I will interpret the Shukra being in Marna Karakasthana over here. So, so his left hand was, naturally a weaker hand for him. I mean, he was relying more on the right hand initially. with the strength the left hand built up, so he had to put a lot of effort to build up that strength. I mean, he did it unconsciously for the sake of, getting money for his family, etc. But it became stronger. So he had to go through a lot of suffering to make it stronger. It didn't just vanish away, or the problem didn't go away. He dealt with that problem. The Jupiter being there, that nice yoga with the Jupiter over there, and then the Parivartana making Venus stronger is helping him deal with the problem.
Mm-hmm. Next question. What?
Just to add one more thing on
Okay.
this, I mean, I'm thinking on this. So, Shukra being in MKS is also showing what is Shukra in his chart. In this chart, it is the 7,000, 12,000. So it is essentially showing what his wife is going through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His wife also suffered a lot along with him. I mean, when they went, and I mean, in the movie it is shown. I was not sure whether in reality it was like that, but his wife couldn't bear to watch him fight. She would not be able to watch him fight. So she will just listen. I mean, she would not even want to listen it on the radio. So she would not be there live, definitely. So and she was very reluctant to, even though they were in bad times and all that, she was very reluctant to let him go back to the boxing ring. Okay. So that would be this attitude. Well, the Mercury being in Marana Karakasthana, as you can see, Mercury is the 11th lord. So it is his gains, his income loss, basically, which he suffered, which he did suffer, right?
Mm-hmm. And you said that 11th house as Aruda is in Kanya.
11th house of gains.
Is
When we
gains.
took a
Yes,
when we
yes.
look
And
at
I'm just
Mercury,
connecting with Aruda, with the 11th house, and with the Kanya. All these things connected to the sports and thing that his image suffered as he
yeah,
broke his bones.
yeah,
He
definitely.
had to overcome his ego and go to the docks to do the hard labor instead of being titled champion and stuff like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Здесь я
And,
что?
and, and the and the MKS of Venus is being dealt with because of the Parivartana, right? Mars and Venus Parivartana.
Yeah.
Mars is the Lagnesha. So it is his, him coming
Decision.
back strong, he's
Mhm.
developing his strength. That gives his confidence to his wife. Okay, let him fight. Okay. And Venus is joined by Jupiter. Jupiter is the fifth lord. Children. So somewhere she'll be thinking, oh, after all, for taking of care of the children, he may have to go and fight. That is the main skill he has, right? He
Yeah.
doesn't have any other skill, right? Otherwise, he'll have to go and work as a laborer.
Another question on this Parivartana. What event started this Parivartana? If you have the reference by dates, um, I think
Date,
the
I don't. I think he had to quit boxing somewhere in 1933 and or 34. I'm not sure exact dates. I mean, I'll have to refer to my notes somewhere to let you
Mhm.
know. It's around
Okay.
1933, 34 is when he had to leave. All this downturn happened in Venus Rahu. Okay. And in fact, I remember that bout which I said where he made us came back. That was just after Venus Jupiter had started, or Venus
Mhm.
Jupiter was just about to start, something like that. Very close to around that event is when he made his comeback. No, no, it was in Venus Jupiter, so it was after Venus Jupiter had started.
And we have another question. Does Mercury shows right hand and Venus left hand all the time, or does it depend on the rising sign on Lagna, right and left
No,
hand?
it's for all. It's for all.
It's like a Karaka for right and left hand, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
There is another question about the did he have to work out his Saturn, but I don't know the context. Why do we talk about Saturn over here, Shani?
See, in fact,
I-
Saturn and Ketu are giving a Raj Yoga also, being the fourth lord and fifth lord. Okay.
oh,
So
yes.
So one would think, okay, is that the Raj Yoga? I mean, Saturn and Ketu are malefic planets, and this is like that kind of thing. Could it be that? But the timings very clearly suggest that it is Venus Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.